In today's video, I'm going to tell you the 6 resolutions that every photographer should stick to as we move into the new year. Let's get started. If you're anything like me, your photography storage area probably looks like a medium-sized tornado has just blown through. Your lenses might not have the caps, you might have SD cards half full scattered around your house and dead batteries lying around that you're not even sure are completely dead. When I was looking for this microphone to record this video, I actually found it in my kitchen for some reason that I can no longer remember. Even if you only have a backpack of gear rather than a whole studio, it's still likely that things aren't quite as organized as maybe they could be. Now is the perfect time to make sure everything is in order, and it really is critical that you do. First of all, it means that your stuff is actually ready to go just as soon as it's safe for you to get back out and shooting again. Your camera will be ready, your lenses will be clean, your SD cards will be formatted, and your batteries fully charged and raring to go. But it also allows you to have a bit of an audit of the gear that you've got. Did you maybe lose a couple of batteries on shoots throughout the year, or maybe you even broke a filter that you're yet to replace? Or perhaps you've gone the other way and you've acquired some extra stuff and maybe some things are a little bit surplus that you could even consider selling to get some money to put towards a bigger purchase, perhaps a new lens. Even if it's just a case of tidying up, the end result is still an organized kit bag that is ready to go just as soon as you are. Which brings me on to same thing as before, really. I am the worst for having horribly complicated file systems that just need cleaning up. I've got messy folders everywhere. I've got files that are just marked as test edit 1, or even worse, loads with just the default Canon file name. At best, this will slow down your workflow because it just takes longer to get through things and to find those files. If you want to go back and find an image that you took maybe 6 months ago to put back on Instagram, it's going to take you longer to go and find that. At worst though, you could end up accidentally deleting things that you did actually want just because you dumped it in another untitled folder on your desktop. It's really worth spending a few hours with a podcast on and a cup of coffee, just going through and organizing those files into a file system which actually makes sense and that you can understand, and backing up those photos that you definitely want to keep safe. It's particularly important if you are running an older machine, as that kind of file organization can actually help speed up your computer. I've said this before earlier in the year, but it bears repeating now. With little chance of going out and doing big, exciting shoots, there has never been a better time for you to stay at home and spend some time sharpening up your editing skills. Dig through your archives and try doing some new edits on old photos. Use it to polish up your skills, but as well to learn some new ones. You could do this just by opening an old photo and trying a new tool or a new slider that maybe you haven't used before in Lightroom and just seeing what it does. Or you could go and find any of the thousands upon thousands of tutorials on YouTube, or you could spend a bit of money in getting a professional tutorial from the likes of Flern or F-Stoppers. This advice applies to anyone, no matter what level of photographer. I'm a professional with over 15 years of photography experience, but I still spend many hours every single week watching tutorial videos and trying to learn new techniques. Now that's partly because I am no master and I think everyone always has something to learn, but also because the software itself is changing. There's always new features being added to Lightroom or to Luminar or whatever it is that you use, and you're going to have to spend some time learning those new features and knowing how to put them into your own work. Investing in your own photography learning is a great thing to be doing right now. With lockdowns in place and travel pretty much off the card, it is difficult to stay excited as a photographer. So giving yourself a project of trying to take a considered artistic photo every day is a really great project just to keep those creative juices flowing. It doesn't need to be anything special, and it doesn't matter at all if you live in literally the world's most boring place where you couldn't possibly take a good photo. It's not about getting award-worthy photos that you want to print and put up your wall. It's just about getting out there, keeping those muscle memory of using your camera in check, maybe even learning some new techniques around long exposure or how to use a super wide angle lens. And by making a point of taking those photos every day, it just keeps you thinking about your photography. And that just helps you stay inspired, stay energized, so that when you can go out and start taking photos again, you actually really want to. And that brings me on to, when you have downtime like this, it is a great time to think about the sorts of shoots that you really want to go and do. Now, I'm not talking about booking flights or hotels for Patagonia or Iceland. That would be absolutely ridiculous now given everything that's going on, but instead it's a time to think about what sort of shots it is you want to get and where it is that you might want to go to get them. It's more about inspiration, really. Maybe you want to go and try astrophotography for the first time, or maybe it's coastal long exposures that you're suddenly really excited to experiment with. Both of those things is going to involve you learning new techniques. Having a good idea for a trip you want to take is a great way of keeping those creative cogs turning. It could even give you some advice on what new techniques you should be learning, and also just ultimately keeps you excited about your own photography. And staying excited about photography is so difficult right now when we can't go out and get those shots that we want to. It may also just be that the trip you really want to do is quite expensive, so at least by thinking about it now early on, gives you a little bit more time to save up. Knowing what makes or breaks a photo is absolutely critical to taking a great shot. Maybe you've seen an amazing photo on Instagram, but can you really pinpoint exactly what it is that makes it a great photo and what separates that shot from maybe the hundreds or thousands of others you've seen on Instagram today? Learning how to critique a photo isn't just about sitting on your sofa and saying that you like a vibrant sunset. It's about understanding composition techniques, understanding how a leading line can draw your eye into a scene, why certain lighting styles work in a particular way, and why elements at the edges of a scene could be distracting. You can then take all of that knowledge out into the field to apply to your own photography, so when you're looking at a scene in front of you, you know much better how to take a really beautiful photo. But how do you learn to critique a photo? Well, it's an ongoing process, of course, of beginning with learning the basics of composition, things like the rule of thirds, and then practicing to see if you can identify how those same techniques have been applied in other photos. There are many resources on the basics of composition, just a very, very quick Google away. And once you've done that, you could go back through your own photos and maybe identify where you might have gone wrong, or maybe even try and figure out why your favorite photo really is your favorite photo. Eventually, that way of seeing will become second nature to you and your photos will thank you for it. But that's it from me this week. I really hope that these tips have been helpful and that you've enjoyed my video. If you have, please do make sure to hit that like button below, subscribe if you don't already, and I will see you next time.